Hello everybody, my name is Comic, and welcome back to my channel. Now you may notice that this is a little different from my usual deal, but I thought it would be cool to do sort of a tips and tricks sort of thing. So more or less in this video, I'm going to be showing you how you can identify your killers. Let's get into it. Okay, so the first person I'd like to talk about on this list, I'm not going to go in any particular order, just for clarification, is Albert Wesker, otherwise known as the Mastermind. Now, there's a couple different ways you can ID this killer. First off is by, so between him and Nemesis, there is one factor that narrows it down to these two, and it is these utility boxes, as shown here, that contain either a first aid spray or I think it's a virus or an antivirus, something like that. I don't remember what it was, but anyway, a cure. Albert Wesker will have the first aid spray. There's going to be 2 in each one. And another way you can ID Wesker is you don't have to necessarily see him, but this effect will show up on somebody's profile when he uses his Ouroboros virus to grab you. That will build up, and you will gain slowness if it reaches full. You can get rid of it with the first aid spray. And the final way you can ID him is by his music. I'll just let it play for a sec. And yeah, that is how you can ID the Mastermind. Anyway, moving on. Alright, the next person I'm going to talk about on this list is Wraith, who's just very easy. At the start of the trial and throughout the game, you will hear the sounding of when he strikes his bell to switch between visible and invisible. And it will sound like this. Pretty simple overall. I couldn't get my hands on a recording for his Terror Radius music, but that's okay. Okay, moving on. Alright, so another easy one I'm going to tell you about is Freddy Krueger, and he is also, like Wraith, very easy, because his power is shown throughout the trial. It is a timer that counts down to when you fall asleep. To refresh it, simply either get someone to wake you up or go to the highlighted alarm clock on your screen. Also, beware of the generator spouting blood, because if it is, it means he's teleporting there. But yeah, that's all I really have for Freddy. Alright. I guess I kind of am going in some kind of order as I'm getting all the easy ones out of the way. But next one on this list is Clown, and the only way I've found to identify him is by the smashing, or the sound of him smashing his bottles, which sounds like this. So what these bottles do, more or less, they just cause you to not really hallucinate, but I would say kind of trip a bit. Your view becomes a bit hazy, and you also gain slowness. And yeah, that is the only way I know of to identify a clown. Okay, another killer that's also relatively easy to identify are the twins, Charlotte and Victor. Because whenever Charlotte spawns a fresh version of Victor, it makes this sound, and you can hear it throughout the map. I'll let it play. And then after that, whenever they toggle between, it sounds like this. You can also hear when Victor jumps, he'll let out a screeching sound. And yeah. That's an easy way you can identify the twins. Okay, the next person I want to talk about on this list is the Trapper, and he's a little more difficult because there's only one giveaway, and that is the sound of his traps being set off. It sounds like this. And yeah, there's really not much more than that, so yeah, let's move on. Okay, next up is the Plague, and she is a little easier to identify because there are two ways you can do this. One is by status effect that is given to a character when she infects you, and another is when you come across the cleansing fountains. And of course, the picture I'm using is red because that one was contaminated, but I couldn't find another one, so yeah. But yeah, that is how you can identify the Plague. Another relatively difficult one to identify is the Legion, and I say this because there's only one way I can think of to identify them. And that is because usually most Legion players start off the match deep wounding everyone. Or at least that's how it's been in my experience. The deep wound effect looks like this, and the Legion goes about spreading it to everyone pretty quick. And yeah, that's a quick way you can identify the Legion. One that's a little easier to identify in my book is the Pig, because there are few ways you can ID her. One of them being her puzzle boxes to remove her reverse bear traps, and the other being the reverse bear trap status, which looks like this. But yeah, that is an easy way you can identify the Pig. Okay, the next person I'm going to talk about is Ghostface, and he's also going to be one of the ones that's harder to identify. Oh, also, fun fact, he and the Pig are the only two killers that have the ability to crouch. So bear that in mind. You might see him wandering around like that in the distance or something like that. Just bear in mind. But yeah, the only other way I can think of to identify him is by his Stalker status effect that he passes to survivors, which looks like this. Well, under this effect, you will have the exposed status, so just bear that in mind. Nemesis is much easier to identify as there are 3 different ways to identify him. The first one off the top of my head is the utility boxes carrying the cure for the virus he gives you. That would be the next one up, which is the infected status effect, which looks like this. And then the third is the couple of zombies wandering around the map. Do not let them hit you. If you are not infected, their strikes will infect you, and if you are infected, then their strikes will hurt you. So yeah, that is how you can identify the Nemesis. Okay, for the last killer I'm gonna tell you about on this video, I'm going to tell you about the Xenomorph. And there are kinda 2 ways you can tell this killer. The first one being, and the most prominent one, being the entrance to the ductways that the xenomorph uses to get around the map. And the second one is the flame turrets, if you don't come across any of the ductways. So yeah, that is how you can identify the xenomorph. Thank you all for watching, and leave a comment below if any of this was helpful to you. Also be sure to like and subscribe and check out my other videos, and I will see you all later. Bye!